The golden afternoon light spilled over the quiet neighborhood as 12-year-old Maya Johnson walked toward the small corner store. Her backpack weighed heavy on her shoulders, but not as heavy as the sense of responsibility she carried. Her mother was on a long police shift again, and Maya had promised to pick up bread and milk before going home. The bell above the store door jingled as she stepped in. The air smelled faintly of coffee and floor cleaner. Maya smiled politely at the man behind the counter, but he didn't smile back. His cold stare followed her every step. A tall police officer, sipping coffee by the register, raised an eyebrow as she walked past. Maya tried to ignore the uneasy feeling twisting in her stomach. She picked up a loaf of bread and a carton of milk, clutching them close as she approached the counter. Before she could reach for her money, the officer's voice cut through the silence. "Hey, kid, you planning to pay for that or just walk out?" Maya froze. The words hit her like a slap. I was going to pay," she stammered, holding out her crumpled dollar bill. The officer chuckled. "Sure you were. Happens all the time." The clerk snorted in agreement. Tears burned her eyes as she placed the money down. "You can keep the change," she whispered, hurrying outside. Behind her, their laughter echoed, sharp, cruel, unforgettable. Officer Dan Miller was still chuckling with the store clerk, replaying the moment in his head. "Kids these days," he said, shaking his head. "They think they can get away with anything." The clerk laughed along, wiping down the counter, oblivious to the small figure of Maya standing just outside, wiping her tears with the back of her sleeve. The sound of tires crunching against gravel made both men glance toward the glass door. A black and white patrol car pulled up, its engine humming with authority. The door opened, and Sergeant Angela Johnson stepped out, crisp uniform, polished boots, dark sunglasses reflecting the afternoon glare. When she entered, the air shifted. The same officer who had mocked Maya straightened at once, instinctively setting down his cup. The clerk fell silent. The authority in her presence filled the small store like electricity. Angela's eyes immediately found her daughter, standing in the doorway, red-eyed and trembling. She knelt beside Maya and gently brushed away her tears. "What happened, baby?" Before Maya could answer, the officer spoke, stumbling over his words. "Sergeant Johnson, I didn't realize she was." "Didn't realize she was what?" Angela asked, standing slowly, her voice low but sharp as a blade. "A child, a customer, or my daughter?" Dan swallowed hard, color draining from his face. "It was just a misunderstanding, ma'am." "No," Angela interrupted. "It's a habit. You see a young black girl, and your first instinct is suspicion. You laugh, you accuse, and you call it doing your job." The silence that followed was deafening. Even the hum of the refrigerator seemed to stop. Angela placed her hand gently on Maya's shoulder. "You owe this young lady more than a refund," she said coldly. "You owe her respect, the same kind you expect in that uniform." Maya looked up at her mother with wide, admiring eyes. In that moment, she understood. Real power wasn't in a badge. It was in dignity, and in breaking bad habits that hurt others. The sun was dipping behind the rooftops when Angela and Maya finally got home. The day's heat had softened into a golden evening glow. They sat together on the porch, two steaming mugs of cocoa between them, silence stretching like a comforting blanket. The distant hum of cars filled the quiet, but Maya's thoughts were loud, the laughter, the stares, the sting of being judged for nothing. After a long pause, Maya finally spoke. "Mom, why did he do that? He didn't even know me." Her small hands gripped the mug, her eyes full of confusion and hurt. Angela sighed softly, removing her cap and setting it on the table. "Because some people don't think before they act, sweetheart. They let their habits control them, habits of judgment, fear, and ignorance." She looked at her daughter with gentle seriousness. "That officer wasn't a monster, Maya. But he's used to seeing the world through one lens. He doesn't even realize he's been trained by his own comfort, his own fear." Maya frowned thoughtfully. "Can people change those habits?" Angela smiled faintly. "Of course, they can. Just like learning to tie your shoes or ride a bike, it takes practice. You choose to see differently every day until it becomes natural." She reached over and squeezed Maya's hand. "That's why I put on this uniform. To remind people, and myself, that justice starts with habit. With how we look at others." Maya nodded slowly, the lesson settling deep in her heart. Then I'll do the same, Mom, she said quietly. Even if they don't. Angela's eyes softened, a proud smile spreading across her face. That's my girl. Never let someone else's habits change who you are. Instead, let your kindness change theirs. They sat together as the streetlights flickered on, the day's pain fading into something stronger, understanding. 2 days later, a soft knock echoed through the Johnsons' front door. Maya, busy doing homework at the kitchen table, looked up curiously. Her mom glanced through the window before opening it, and there stood Officer Dan Miller, the same man whose laughter had haunted Maya's thoughts. He wasn't wearing his usual smug grin. His posture was stiff, his cap in his hands, his eyes lowered in genuine shame. Sergeant Johnson, he began, voice unsteady. May I come in for a moment? Angela studied him silently, then nodded. You may. He stepped inside, glancing at Maya, who shrank a little behind her chair. Dan took a deep breath. I came to apologize. To both of you. He swallowed hard. After that day, I couldn't stop thinking about what you said. About habits, and how they shape what we see. You were right, ma'am. I saw color, not character. And I'm ashamed of that. Maya listened quietly, her heart pounding. It was strange hearing an apology from the man who'd once made her feel so small. I've signed up for community service, Dan continued. Working with the youth center. I figured if I'm going to wear this badge, I'd better earn it the right way. Angela's stern expression softened slightly. That's a start, she said. Change doesn't come from words, officer. It comes from practice, just like any habit. Dan nodded. I know. And I'll practice seeing people right. Then he turned to Maya. I'm sorry, kid. I was wrong. Maya looked at him for a long moment before smiling shyly. It's okay. Just don't do it again to someone else. Dan's lips curved into a faint, grateful smile. I won't. As he left, Angela placed a hand on Maya's shoulder. See, sweetheart, even bad habits can be broken when someone finds the courage to face them. That night, Maya opened her diary and wrote, greater than, sometimes, the world doesn't change all at once. But if one person learns to see differently, that's how it begins. And with that, she smiled, her heart lighter, her hope stronger than before.